Opinionated Idiot.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Sunday Fun Day. We're here again live on the Opinionated Idiot YouTube channel. This is the Opinionated live show, and I want to welcome everybody. It is April 2nd, 2023. How's everybody doing this weekend? I hope everybody had an amazing, fantastic weekend. If you're new over here on the channel, I do live shows every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you like the content here today, please go down and subscribe. Hit that like button and turn all your notifications on. I see a lot of amazing people here in the chat, a lot of the regulars here this week, and I hope everybody is doing well. Let's pull up some of the names here in the chat. We have Shipley in the house saying, I keep teetering back and forth between guilty and not guilty. I'm sure that you are referring to my poll at the top. If anybody wants to join in up there and take a vote, it says, have you changed your stance I'm asking the audience, have you changed your stance in this case in the past 7 days? Right now we have 8% yes, 64% no, and 28% undecided. Chris Pepper in the house as well. He said, I've been undecided from the beginning. I need facts and evidence. Nothing I've seen so far seems very strong, but I know I haven't seen it all. Very interesting point. And I myself feel like we haven't seen it all. I think there's a lot more details in this. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, I fell down a rabbit hole today, but we'll get into that. Let me just look at a few more people here in the chat. Sylvia's here, says, hey, everyone, voted for still undecided, looking at all sides, theories, documents, etc., and gathering knowledge. Dr. Bob, always in the house as well, says, I've tried to keep an open mind until the trial is over. Fair enough. Fair enough. Candy's here. Hello, Candy. How are you? I hope your weekend was going well. We have AZ. He says he is giddy. He is here hanging out. Susie's in the house as well. Good evening, Brian. Good evening to you as well. Laura's here. She says, hi, Brian. I'm doing great here in PA. Well, it's good to know that you're doing great. Thank you. I hope you had an amazing weekend as well. Moon Vibes is here. She says, hey, everyone. Kay is in the house as well. Happy Palm Sunday. That's right. It is Palm Sunday for all of you that are celebrating Palm Sunday. Happy Palm Sunday. Anita Hunter's here as well. MRG, always the faithful, is here. Says hello all. And let's see. Bell is here. Hello, Bell. How are you? Victorine is here. Hello, Victorine. Hope you're doing well. Firefly is in the house as well. Good evening. I'm on the fence still. All right. Little Messy's here as well. Gator says, first live, think guilty. Well, Gator, thank you so much for joining the first live. Again, if you missed it, I do live shows every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live is here. Hello. Janet is here as well. She said, we cannot begin to formulate an opinion with zero evidence heard so far. Karen T is here. Hello, everyone. This is my first live. Well, Karen, thank you for coming in to the first live here. It's great to have you here. I say we. I think I'm just saying we because my faithful is always here. So we appreciate it. Candy says, I got your gift card in the mail. Thank you. I'm so glad it got to you, and use it well. Willow's in the house as well. She says, rock on, Pennsylvania. Samantha is here from Vancouver, just above here in the Northeast. Well, welcome, Samantha. Thank you for checking out. Newman is here. Says, rock on. Good to see you, Newman. Brooke is here. She says, hi, Bryan. Hello, Brooke. How are you? And I think I got everybody. Yes, face palm Sunday. Yep. All right. So we have a lot to go through this evening. We have a little Sarah Boone update, aka the alleged suitcase killer. So we'll do that before we get into the Bryan Kohberger business. There's an article I've just read a day ago. It dropped, and I'm going to be honest with you. Looking through all of the Bryan Kohberger documents in this file, there's a document that I missed there too. They actually are pulling information from TikTok, and there could be a possible TikTok connection between Bryan and either one of the 4 victims. So we're going to look into that. And we know about the internal affairs disclosure. There's an article saying that it's unlikely tied to the students. We'll get into that as well. I'm going to talk about the DNA on the knife sheath, as that has been a huge question of controversy here over the last couple of days. And then I'm going to give you kind of a rundown. I literally went down the rabbit hole today in where we stand in the Bryan Kohberger case right now, where we stand, what is the evidence that is out there right now that we know of. I put together a possible defense, and then also I put together some what ifs, I guess. Because I'll be honest with you, Drunk Turkey show the other night had me thinking a little bit more. And I think that's why I kind of jumped down a little bit of a rabbit hole today on the case. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm changing my stance. I still think that Kohberger is suspect number 1, but it's got me thinking a little bit more. I think, and like I've said, if he allegedly did these crimes, they have the right guy. Is there a second person? Is there more to this case? That's some of the things I think that I'm like 10%, maybe 20% on this side, and I've already 80% made my mind up here. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But first, let's pull up the Sarah Boone update. And it is a video form, so we'll pull that up. We can take a listen to that. And there was some pretrial motions. And this is a case that I'm going to be following here on my channel as this case moves along. But we will get into that. Let me just plug in my headphones here. We'll play through this, and you're going to actually get a look here. And I'm going to say, Sarah looks like she has aged significantly while in prison. I'm definitely thinking the stress is getting to her. But we'll play through this video here right now. See if I can get some volume.
All right, let's go ahead and call up Miss Boone's case.
State of Florida versus Sarah Boone, 2020 CF 2603. State of Florida.
Give you Cacciatore on behalf of the state.
Defense.
Frank Bankowitz.
Let's go ahead and swear Miss Boone in.
May you please raise your right hand.
So what you're going to see here is that they're going to make a motion to set date for trial, and you're going to have some arguments or just some delays in the defense because, well, you'll see. I don't want to ruin it, but we'll play through here.
May you be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Morning, ma'am. Tell me your name and your date of birth.
Sarah Boone, October 10th, 1977.
Yes,
All right, we're here for pre-trial
the alleged
conference today.
suitcase killer.
Mr. Cacciatore, where do you stand in preparing to proceed forward to trial?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Bankwitz, where do you stand in regards to preparing
I'm
for
sorry,
trial?
the defense is not ready. We're requesting a continuance. We are having difficult time finding an expert who is willing to work for the JAC rates. And so I'm still it's an essential part of the case. Basically, it's never been initiated before by any of the prior attorneys that I'm aware of.
In broad terms, what's the nature, what's the
Battered
field?
spouse defense.
Okay.
Statutorily, we have to.
So what, if anybody can't hear, and I know the volume's really terrible on this. So basically what the defense is trying to come up with is finding an expert on battered spouse defense. That's going to be the defense that Sarah and her lawyer and her team of lawyers are going to use in this case. And they're finding a very difficult time of a person that's going to be able to basically go for a public defender rate, because I'm pretty sure that Sandra is, does not have means to have a powerful lawyer in this case. So,
To give the state.
do I have something going on in the chat? Let's see. Let's see. Hey guys, I'm not able to be here during the chat or live, but I wanted to stop in and say, make sure you hit the like button for Bryan. As much love. Arkansas is devastated by tornadoes. Wow, really? I'm trying to help with cleanup and things that are here. Please pray for my state. Pray for our capital. So far, I think 26 people were killed in our capital and hit directly and destroyed. Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that, Amber. I hope everything's well, and I hope that you're everything's going well. Just love you all very much. I hope you have a great show, Bryan. I will watch it as soon as I get home. I'm from Walmart getting supplies to take to the Red Cross. Yeah, take care, Amber. Just, do what you got to do. I'm sorry that you're going through that right now. And again, every little bit can help for sure.
Notice, sufficient time, and name of the expert and the essential elements that they'll be testifying to.
Mr. Cacciatore, what's your position in regard to the defense request for continuance?
I would have no objection to another role.
So, Mr. Bankwitz, how deeply have you plumbed the depths of the pool of experts in this field to find out or find one who's willing to work for the JAC rate?
Well, I've actually talked to 3, and they don't have contracts with JAC and are not willing to work with JAC. And I've made some other inroads with battered woman shelters, trying to get their psychologists, who'd be willing. Problem is willing to testify, basically.
Okay. Because of the concern about the compensation rate for testimony?
Well, that's one of the things. And to be honest with you, this case has had so much notoriety that people don't want to be involved.
Okay. So, Mr. Bankwitz, I'm certainly willing to give you additional time based on my understanding of the case. I understand why that would be a defense the defense would want to explore about potentially presenting. What I'm not sure about is whether the inability to find an expert forever delays the trial of the case.
I wouldn't expect it to be a forever delay, Judge. And you know me better than that.
Mr. Cacciatore, well, I just want to make sure everyone in the room understood that, I'll give reasonable amounts of time to prepare a defense. The defendant's entitled to an adequate defense, but they're not necessarily entitled to the exact defense they would prefer to have if resources run limited. So, Mr. Cacciatore, remind me, where are we as far as lining up your various homicide cases for trial? I know we have some things set to go to trial in the June trial period.
Yes, we have both Mr. Herlong and Mr. Soel set for then. And then as far as this trial period, we have Mr. Hall and potentially Mr. Ofori as well. If I could ask of the defense, because I think it would make a difference in the timing of the continuance in this case. Does the defense intend to hire an expert to testify generally as to the precepts and the things that go along with battered spouse syndrome? Or do they intend to hire an expert that will evaluate Mrs. Boone and want to comment on her directly? And the reason I ask that is because I think the case law is clear that if it's the latter thing, then the state is entitled to have her sit down with our own expert to be evaluated as well. So that would obviously take more time if that is going to be the path they're going to go.
Mr. Banquets, are you in a position to distinguish?
Number two is definitely what we're looking at, Judge. Although number one would be incorporated in that as far as their general ability and their expertise in the area.
Would you agree that if in fact you retain an expert and they're going to opine specifically on Ms. Boone's state of mind at the time of the incident, that opens the door for the state to also have an expert? All right.
Most definitely.
So here's what I am, and Mr. Castro, let me ask you this. Let's say that turns out not to be an issue. We're not going to have two experts. How long would it otherwise take you to present your case? Just rough idea.
That's the defense lawyer is at the podium in front of the judge. Let's get through this commercial.
Game. You're not.
I would say 3 days.
And other than this potential defense, Mr. Banquets, and is that including jury selection, Mr. Cacciatore?
No, I probably 3.5 days for jury selection.
All right. And Mr. Banquets, other than this potential defense, if we picked a jury in 1 day, the state presented their case in 2.5 days, how long do you anticipate a defense presentation would be at this
Let's
point?
say at least 3 days.
Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. I'll grant continuance. I'm thinking continuing out to the July 11th pretrial, July 24th trial period.
How long is that trial period, Judge? I have a time certain death penalty case in Lake County starting the second week in August.
That's a 3-week trial period, so it'd be the week starting Monday, July 24th, Monday, July 31st, and then the last week of the trial period would be Monday, August 7th.
That's when I'm scheduled to start picking a jury in Lake County.
Well, let's do this. I want to set it for that date. That way you'll have a much better idea of what's actually happening on your death penalty case in Lake County. I understand that they're priority cases, but I also know that they're the cases where if a problem comes up, no matter what a judge has said before, they're likely to allow the case to move because they don't want to try it twice.
Just to advise the court, this case had to be continued at the last minute because of one of the attorney's wives basically had a stroke. And so it was a week before we were scheduled to start in that case, but Judge Davis up there, now that has, I won't say resolved itself, but is in a better position. Judge Davis has advised all of us that we're going, quote, come hell or high water.
See, I try not to say things like that because I feel like I'm just tempting
Well,
fate.
that's just Lake County, Judge. What are you trying?
Well, having never worked there, it means nothing to me. So I'll grant change July 11th pretrial, July 24th trial period. And let's go ahead and do this. While I'm giving July 11th as the date, let's go ahead and have the lawyers reach out to my judicial assistant and just like we did this time, schedule a status separate, unique date for pretrial so that I have, y'all have my undivided attention when we talk about the case. I don't have 97 other lawyers tapping their fingers, waiting to get to me.
Sounds good, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Ms. Boone, we return to the Orange County jail pending further order of the court. And Mr. Banquets, you can electronically file the motion to continue,
Yes, sir, we will.
and the court minutes will say it's granted. All right,
Thank you, Judge.
have a good day.
She is not aged well. Wow. Wow. She has aged big time. Wow. She has aged big time. And that's it. So I wanted to get you guys caught up a little bit on Sarah Boone, and we will follow this case. I think it's going to be a very interesting case to defend. It's pretty much, in my opinion, a close and shut case there. But, you know, like I said, when we get new updates, we'll keep updating you guys. Mandy Joe's in the house. She said, on this crazy Bryan. Yes. Good to see you, Mandy. Good to see you, Mandy. All right. So what I want to get into now is there was an article. We'll start getting into the Bryan Kohberger stuff. There's an article that just got dropped a couple of days ago about police looking now at, let me just move this over here real quick. Police are looking at a possible connection. It says, did Idaho quadruple murder suspect meet 3 female victims a year before slayings? Ex-FBI agent reveals cops are probing if Bryan Kohberger had prior contact with university students on social media. And I remember going back and talking about it in some of my earlier streams, that if you look, they were looking at information and looking at search history and social media contacts and emails going back a year prior to, you know, the events that happened at King Road. And it's crazy there. I even missed this the other day in the court documents that were released, and I can show you really quick. Let me bring what I'm talking about here. This, where's the tab? What we're looking at here, this was released on the 24th of March. And this here is an order to look at TikTok data. And if you go back, if we keep going down here, we'll see what the actual dates that they're looking for. So it says here, where was it? Where was the dates? Okay, here. So they're looking at having given me the proof upon oath the day showing probable cause established grounds for issuing a search warrant, and there is probable cause to believe that the property referred to in the sought or upon said promises consist of information related to the investigation of the crime of homicide on the TikTok account Maddie Mogan with the following identifier's email address. Yeah, obviously the email addresses have been redacted. You can see the stamp there on the bottom of the page. And they say Kaylee as well. And if you look down here, and Xana, if you look here, it's saying right here where my pointer is, I don't know if you can see that underlined, January 1st, 2021 to the present, including any messages, record filings, logs, information. And it's basically going to go through all of the things that we cover, any of the data, photographs, TikTok information, communications, messages sent, messages received. So, you know, a full gamut of list of pretty much anything that you can do on that app. And this, I'll be honest, this was missed by me. I missed this document, and I didn't even think about it until I started reading through this article that I was just showing. Let me pull the article back up and we'll read through it, because it has a lot of interesting information in there that I find that, you know, it's kind of, it's giving us on a lot of new outlooks. And there's some little things in here that I picked out and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So it says, Ohio officials are sealed in the finding their request of TikTok searches going back as far as January 2021. More than 60 warrants were issued to companies like DoorDash, Verizon, Tinder, and Reddit as part of the investigation. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer, I think I got that right, has questioned if Kohberger had come across the alleged victim as much as an earlier date. Court documents have revealed that police are probing to see if there's any contact between suspected murderer Bryan Kohberger and the 3 female victims over 1 year before the slayings. Authorities have submitted several search warrants to social media companies, including TikTok and Google, which date back to January 21st, more than a year before the brutal killings. So this here, when I was thinking about this, are they, are they still struggling with a motive here? Are they still struggling to find what the connection is? Or do they have a hunch that something goes back, to January, going back to January of 2021 and then some? You have to think about this, and it's going to say this in an article. Could he have possibly met or seen one of these girls when he went out to visit Washington State University? That it could be, maybe that's how he got the idea and got his mindset on one of these 3 females. The Facebook and Twitter search warrants all have a start date for the search of June 2022, 5 months before the killings. But authorities have been looking over a longer period to see if Kohberger ever interacted with Maddie, Kaylee, or Xana over TikTok in the 22 months prior to the killings. The search warrant requests messages, records, files, and logs for their accounts, as well as those that have been deleted. Police were looking at all the images linked to the accounts, location data, including geotags of all the people they followed, unfollowed, and blocked. Authorities have since made a bid for the findings to remain sealed until a future court date. But former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer has questioned if Kohberger could have come across his alleged victims at a much earlier date. She said that cops are trying to look for a nexus, meaning a series of connections between Kohberger and the 3 female victims. Posting the documents on Twitter, she said, interesting how far the SWs went back in time. Why? January of 2021. Did Kohberger somehow meet Kaylee or Maddie on a possible school visit early on? What made Kohberger choose WSU? Did Kohberger have a nexus with the victims sooner than we thought? The criminal justice major attended Washington State University, which is less than a 10-mile drive from the University of Idaho. And that was that search warrant here that we just I read through really quick. Goes on to read, Coffindale implied that Kohberger could have met one of the girls at an early school visit and questioned if that could have been the reason for him to attend WSU. It comes after it was revealed that that the sister of Kohberger have lost their jobs despite the family refusing to visit him at jail. Kohberger's arrest for the killings has severely impacted his family, who are struggling financially, the sources told News Nation. His sister, Melissa and Amanda, have been let go from their jobs because of their relationship with the accused killer. Kohberger was arrested from his parents' home in Pennsylvania after driving cross-country with his father from Idaho. In January, his family issued a statement that said, "We would be standing by him," adding, "We love and support our son and brother." The statement released just days after former WSU criminology student was arrested and charged for 4 counts of murder on the first degree with a felony burglary. Ministers who have been meeting with the suspected killer in the Latah County jail are preaching the gospel that even the greater sinners have been forgiven by God. And that was that tweet there from Jennifer Coffindale. You can see it here. And she says, interesting how far the SWs went back in time. Search warrants went back in time. Why January of 2021? And then she's asking the question, did Bryan Kohberger somehow meet Kaylee or Maddie on a possible school visit early on? What made BK choose WSU? Did BK have a nexus with his victims sooner than we thought? It's going to go on to say here, but they recognized even Jesus Christ can't save the accused quadruple murderer from the criminal justice system. We do not tell folks that this will reveal them from responsibility of relieve them of the responsibility of their crimes. Pastor Mike Hall, head of the group, sends lay ministers to jail, told dailymail.com in exclusive interview. Regardless if you are in for some offense like that or some drug offense, we're all on the same plane in terms of the need of grace and forgiveness from God. He sits down on a one-on-one session with members of Project Hope Idaho, a local Christian organization that dispatches dozens of lay ministers to county jails and prisons to provide gospel service and classes on Sunday nights. Kohberger leaves his cell at 7 p.m. on Sundays to meet with his minister, who leads him in prayer in prison library. Steve Otto, a board member of Project Hope, said that his decision to share gospel with Kohberger is challenging stuff for sure. Let's go on to say, I found myself praying quite a bit about truth and justice, he said. My heart goes out to the victims and parents. I can't imagine the pain they are feeling. We want justice done. Kohberger spent most of his time alone in a private cell kept apart from other inmates who share cells. He rarely, if chats with jail inmates who typically only see him when he walks past them. They say he maintains a steely stare when he steps out to meet his lawyer or visit the library, and that he's always flanked by several correction officers who escort him wherever he goes. Kohberger could face the execution by firing squad following the state's decision to pass a bill aimed at reviving the controversial punishment early this week. It's unclear if the prosecutors in this case will be advocating the death penalty, but Kohberger's lawyer is trained to work with those kinds of cases. It comes after dailymail.com revealed that the suspected killer is obsessed with following his own case behind bars in the Latah County Jail. Criminologist Major Bryan Kohberger is accused of murdering the 4 students as they slept November 13th, leaving Maddie and Kaylee with devastating injuries. Kohberger is also accused of having multiple injuries. So this is very interesting here. Kohberger is also accused of having multiple images of one of his alleged victims on his phone when he was searched by cops. However, they did not identify which of the girls was in the pictures, and Moscow police have not yet revealed the motive for the brutal crime. It is not clear if the images found on the device were photos of that Kohberger had taken himself, or if they were downloaded from her social media, and if they were taken before or after the quadruple slaying. Investigators have remained tight-lipped over the potential motive in the slayings, but revealed in an affidavit that he visited the area of the home in Moscow several times. He even alleged to have returned to the scene of the crime at 9 a.m. on November 13, just hours after police believe he committed the quadruple murder. The documents say that the criminal justice graduate stalked the property at least 12 times. His phone was taken off officers shortly after SWAT teams swooped on his family home in Pennsylvania, where FBI officials saw him taking out trash wearing surgical gloves. Kohberger was tracked to the area of his home in months leading up to the deaths by his phone, but officials have yet to confirm how he became aware of the students in the first place. And that is the million-dollar question here right now. That is seriously a million-dollar question. What is the connection to him, that home, and the people in that home, the victims in that home? What is his connection? I think that's the million-dollar question here right now, because I'm going to be honest with you. Just looking over this, just keep going. I literally went over this 1,000 times in my head today, and then just being on Drunk Turkey the other day, it's just got me thinking a lot. And I started questioning a bunch of stuff, and I'm trying to keep my head clear and stay, I guess, to my conviction, but there's a lot of questions. Now we know that there's issues with the DNA on the sheath. You have dodgy police work. Again, I feel like they have the right guy. I think that Kohberger is suspect number 1. He allegedly killed these 4 victims. I don't know. Was there someone else involved? Was there someone else helping him? We're going to get into that pretty soon after I read through this document. It added that he looked into if he conducted surveillance on the King Road residence and was in contact of any of the victims associated before or after the alleged offense. However, It does not elaborate how the students came to be on the radar of the Washington State University PhD student, simply that he had stalked them for a period of time in the early mornings or late evenings. It comes after allegations that Kohberger was fired from his teaching assistant position at WSU after inappropriate behavior with female students. A report of the New York Times claims that he followed at least one student to her car with pals remaining him as a creepy loner. Kohberger is expected to enter a plea in the case of June 26th around the same time as the presentation of the evidence. And that is when we're going to get, if this gets to trial, hopefully the full details of what the hell is going on. He is charged with 4 counts of murder and 1 count of felony burglary, and waived his right to a speedy preliminary trial or hearing in January. The alleged killer was arrested on December 13th by SWAT team. What happened? My screen just went down. Whoops. Maybe I idled too quick. Sorry about that. Let's see if my screen came back up. I think this is just pretty much information that we know by the end of the article. Is my screen sharing anymore? Hang on. Where is my screen? I think we got it back. Can we get it back? Let's see. There we go. My screen's back up. And it's just a lot of information here. Let's see. Where were we? Court documents. It stands. Okay, yeah, this is very important too. Investigators who raided the property back in December also picked up receipts from Walmart and 2 Marshall's receipts, which was collected his contents in a vacuum cleaner. Authorities initially sealed the search warrant for murder of suspect Washington home, arguing that the release of the details could prematurely end the investigation. However, the documents have not been unsealed with the approval of Whitman County prosecutor Dennis Tracy, who filed the motion on January 17th. Court documents show that 8 strands of hair were recovered from the apartment, as well as a possible animal hair. They also recovered a Fire Stick TV during their search. All the items are now being stored at the Washington State University Police Department. Authorities reportedly said they wanted to see if the hair can be transferred onto Kohberger and then back to his apartment, including that of Kaylee Gonzalez's dog, Murphy. Murphy was alive in Kaylee's room when the investigators were called to the scene and now has been returned to her ex-boyfriend. The application also stated that the home where the students were murdered had a significant amount of blood from the victims, including splatter and cast-off blood. The investigators believe that it would be likely that the killer would have blood evidence on their body or clothing and hope to find trace evidence in Kohberger's apartment. However, they did not describe the results of any of the testing to the documents, and they did not confirm any of the hairs matched the victim on Kaylee's dog. His offices at WSU were also secured, but nothing was seized by officers. Initially, the court ruled that the warrant should be sealed until March 1st, claiming that if it was public, it would be a threat to public safety. Excuse me. Why would it be a threat to public safety? Initially, the court ruled that the warrant should be sealed until March 1st, claiming that if it were made public, there would be a threat to public safety. There's a lot more going on in this case. There's a lot more going on in this case. I'm starting to get a feeling. Why would it be a threat to public safety if that was released? There is a lot more going on in this case. Let me catch up on the chat real quick. I know I've been reading a lot, and I appreciate your patience through all of that. Yeah, so this is a good question, too. Have you heard about the 2 that were arrested in Washington? It said that the girl somehow known by the girls in the house. I did. I saw that today. I was going to pull that article up. I find this interesting, and I'm going to get into a little bit more of this. I'm going to get a little bit more of this as I pull kind of my presentation up here in a minute. So pause on that, and we'll look. I think so here, yeah, Chris. So here's the thing. He said, I'm glad that you're coming around. So here's the thing. I want to make sure this, okay? I want to make it sure that everybody understands that I'm very, very clear on this. I think that Bryan Kohberger is involved in this case. And I've kind of said this all along that I feel there is a lot more going on in this case. I don't think it's like law enforcement's involved. I don't think it's a cartel that's involved, but I think there are more people involved, or there were more people involved. There's just a lot of strange things. And I always said this too. If you guys watched me from the very, 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 very beginning, that 8-hour window of time, you know, before the call was made to police and the friends came over before that, and Kohberger's car was there, you know, was back in the area, or Kohberger was back, you know, allegedly back in the area of 9 a.m. I just feel like there's some more stuff going on that we haven't heard about. And why are they going back and looking at all this search history from like a year and a half, way before he even got there? There's something going on. Yeah, Chris says there's definitely something, always something to be felt. Yeah. So anyway, while I have a lot of my moderators here, I just want to make something very, 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 very clear. I understand that I have a lot of moderators in my room. I want to make this very clear to all of you, because I don't want to take wrenches away, because I have trust in all the people that have wrenches in this room. Let's make sure that we don't ever silence anybody in the chat unless they're like swearing or saying like nasty stuff. I will put that out there and say silence them or put them in a timeout. But if people like upright spamming or swearing, I want voices heard in the chat. You know, I want people to speak. I don't want anybody silenced or muted. I will let you know if I want someone silenced or muted, but straight up, the rules are if someone's like swearing, being super rude to someone in the room, that's when we put them in timeout. And if they don't learn their lesson, we bounce them out. So, yeah, I think, I don't think you get a strike for caps. I don't think you do. I could be wrong on that, but I just want to make it sure, very clear, because if not, I'll just clear all wrenches and then I'll start over. But I just want to make sure that we're not timing anybody out. Let's let them speak. Let's let them have a voice, because a lot of people might not like what I'm talking about, or they have a different view of what I'm talking about, and that's fine. But if they're being disrespectful, that's when we'll put them in a timeout or we'll bounce them out of the room. That's fine. So this is the day. I think this is daily. What is this? Daily Mail. I'll drop the link if you want to read it after I get done. I'll drop the link there. Yeah, it's Daily Mail from the UK. Okay, so let's continue down here. Where were we? So Murphy was found alive in Kaylee's room by investigators who were called to the scene, and now there's being returned to her ex-boyfriend. And if anybody's curious, the Gonzalez family actually has a Facebook page, and they had some updates of Murphy the other day, and Jack was at the house visiting as well. So you can go over there and check that out. The application was also stated that the home where the students were murdered had a significant amount of blood from the victims, including spatter or cast off. I guess it was likely. Okay, I already read that. Let's see. However, they did not describe the results of any of the testing or documents that did not confirm if any of the hairs matched the victim or Kaylee's dog. His offices were also seized initially by the court, ruled in the warrant. Yeah, and this is like this thing claiming that there would be made public, there would be a threat to public safety. I don't understand that. It comes to us to reveal that his lawyer would be paid $200 an hour in the case with any additional overtime. Chief Public Defender Ann Taylor would be paid by County for the 40-hour work week, and Latah County agreeing to give the funds for her work. But any overtime that she accrues outside of Taylor's representing. Yeah, so this is interesting too. Taylor's representing a 28-year-old criminal justice major after stepping down as a lawyer for Kara Northington, the mother of murdered Xana Kanoto. That is insane and crazy that just aligned that way and that happened. there's just so many fucking weird things in this case. Like, I can't get my head around it. Like, literally, I was just saying, like, on Drunk Turkey the other day, I literally feel like my brain is melting. Because, I mean, when this initially started, this is how I felt. It was like, hey, it's like this crime happened, and then the investigation's going on, and it's kind of going for weeks. And then I started thinking, like, this is gonna go cold, and then all of a sudden it was like, boom, they have a suspect and he's arrested, and you're like, holy shit. And then you're hearing stuff coming out in the media, there's court documents being released, but then now it just feels like, as we're getting closer to June, which is literally almost 2 months away, it just feels like there's another bump in the road as this goes. As we're getting closer to that trial, more things are coming out, and it just doesn't look good. And things are just weird and strange, and these coincidences and evidence, and it's like my brain is on total meltdown. She was charged in a case until January 5th, the same day that Kohberger was extradited from his home in Pennsylvania to Idaho. The lawyer was accused of a second conflict of interest in this case after it was revealed that his represented Maddie Mogen's stepmother, Corey Hatrock, in June 2022, and oversaw a case involving her father, Benjamin, in 2020. This is fucking brain melting. I feel like I'm in like a parallel universe when I read this case. And the thing they have to look at too, as far as the prosecution, they're going to be able to use that as well. If this lawyer sticks with Kohberger through this case, you're going to see that come up in this trial as well. They may use some of that as kind of like bullets in their chamber. But I know that they did have some motions on it. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to bring that back up in court. That may be, moved on by now, but I'm not too sure. So that's actually the end of the article. I got to get a sip of water here. Excuse me. But please, if you're interested, you can read that article. I'll copy and paste it in the... Yeah, I agree. There's a lot going on. Threat to public safety is if he's an intern for WSU, law enforcement is part of the program. They never said if he was or never not given the position he interviewed for. Excuse me, my voice is just shot right now. Okay, so I wanted to read a little bit about that. Let me just pull my notes up here really quick. I would get a cough drop, but the last time I did that, I'm going to yell that on someone in replay. You're chomping in everybody's ears. All right, so that I just want to talk a little bit about that TikTok connection, and then obviously we got another plethora of information from that article, which was fantastic. The other one I wanted to pull up was about the internal affairs investigation. This article was dropped 2 days ago from Fox 13 Seattle. It says Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger, internal affairs disclosure unlikely tied to student stabbings, experts. Washington State judge unseals search warrant of Idaho murders in suspect's apartment. Let me see. I'm just going to do this here. Okay. So this one says Moscow, Idaho prosecutors disclose an internal affairs investigation to college student murder. Bryan suspect's defense this week that could be completely unrelated to quadruple homicide, experts say. Latah County prosecuting attorney Bill Thompson's office informed Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall and Kohberger's team last week that it would be disclosing potential Brady Giglio material related to a police officer involved in the massacre probe, but it doesn't mean there's a connection with the stabbing of the 4 Idaho University students in November. Brady material is information that could potentially prove a defendant's innocent, experts tell Fox News Digital. Giglio material is damaging to the integrity of the witness in this case, one of the officers involved in the investigation. Obviously, we know what is going on about, the sticker gate. Marshall granted Thompson's request for a protective order that will withhold the materials from the public based on the argument that they were part of a personal file, which is exempt from disclosure. I wanted to touch on exempt from disclosure because I actually looked up that statement. I had a definition of it, and I apologize. I lost the tab that it was on. Actually, you know what? I think I have it. Hang on one second. Let me see. I think I actually kept it. Oh, I don't think I did. Damn it. No, I'm sorry, I erased it. But basically, it's just information that is protected that doesn't have to by Washington state law does not have to be released to the public, and that's why I was looking at like Kopacka or however you want to say it, his information about his body cam footage. I know that there's been a lot of inquiry about that, and basically it says exempt from disclosure, and I think they're probably protecting that. If we were look at it at a sane and not a rabbit hole look, they're protecting that information because of maybe his military service and military background. I'm just playing it straight up here. I'm not kind of going rabbit hole-ish. We can get a little rabbit hole-ish in a couple of minutes. But that would be kind of, what exempt from disclosure is. They have a lot of laws about that in Washington state, about revealing certain information to the public. So it goes on to say here, this is not uncommon. Paul Moreau, attorney and former New York police inspector, said of the disclosure, defense attorneys are entitled to information through discovery, while prosecutors ask that whatever is turned over remains sealed due to the exemptions under state law. And I just kind of talked about that. Giglio materials may be used by the defense to undermine the investigation's credibility, Morrow said, but they don't have to be related to the student stabbings. This is a case that is going to go up on appeal because of mandatory appeals in the death penalty cases, explained Nima Rami, a former federal prosecutor. So you just want to disclose everything so you don't get the death sentence overturned on appeal because you don't comply with the constitutional obligations. Furthermore, he said prosecutors likely won't even call an impeachable officer to testify anyway and will build their case around unimpeachable evidence. It comes as its police department, several offices face a federal lawsuit from a church group in town, allegation violations of constitutional rights in connection with a crackdown on protesters over COVID-19 restrictions, Wilson versus Moscow. The disclosure might be related to the federal lawsuit. They are and could be related in some way else entirely, experts say. Now, I know you all have your thoughts on that case. If anything from the lawsuit, it might be allegations that police withheld crime scene videos for a year. This is all kind of speculation, he explained. It literally could be anything. It doesn't even have to be anything illegal, just something that could impeach the officer's character. It could be beating your wife, smoking weed, getting passed out drunk at a bar, misusing your authority, lying to protect other officer, excessive force. It's just not illegal conduct. It's anything unethical, embarrassing, anything that you say you're a liar, he said, lying on your taxes. I've seen these, and it can range anything that can potentially impeach you. Think about all of these things that he could use and cross-examine to impeach an officer, such as a wide range of possibilities. It could be something like in another case, like, hey, do you remember, John Doe, when you put him in that police car in the back and you threw him in there and he hit his head? If you're treating him like that, then, maybe you were treating people like this in this particular case. Could be something like that. One of the officers named in the lawsuit was reportedly among the first Moscow police personnel responding to the King Road home on November 13th, hours after Kohberger allegedly snuck in with a knife and stabbed 4 friends to death in the middle of the night. The attack killed 21-year-old best friends, and we know all the names. Only suffered defensive wounds, suggested 4 a.m. Ambush began with some of them sleeping. Kohberger's in hell, So I'll drop this link in there as well. If you guys want to go back and read this after the stream is over, you can do that as well. Okay. So that is that article as well. And I think it, it just brings a little bit more clarity to Brady Giglio as well. Excuse me. All right. So let's take a look at this article that I found out about the DNA and the knife sheath evidence. Now we know that there's been some twists and turns as that as well. Supposedly this was processed at the Idaho lab, and the DNA that was found in the trash, allegedly pointed towards Bryan Kohberger with a potential match. Now they're saying that the DNA wasn't found there and it had to be sent to a Texas lab. So what the fuck is going on with that? We'll look into this too. Article from the Sun. Let me just widen this up for you guys a little bit there. Holy schmolies. Like I said, this is like, I think Hyman said it on Drunk Turkey Show the other night. This fucking case is like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It literally is. It's going to start from the end and go to the beginning, like a Quentin Tarantino movie, like Pulp Fiction or something. It's wild. The twists and turns in this case is absolutely wild. Let's see. Okay, so strange move, disturbing twist in Idaho murders case reveals concerning detail about Bryan Kohberger's DNA and knife sheath evidence. Oh boy, here we go. New details in the case against Bryan Kohberger have revealed a potential crack in the criminal case against him for the murder of 4 University Idaho students last year. A knife sheath found in off-campus apartment in Moscow, Idaho, where the killings took place, is sent to a second lab after Idaho police could not find a DNA match with Kohberger. That is huge bullets in the chamber for the defense. Huge bullets. Kohberger, 28, awaits his trial in the Idaho solitary confinement prison. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for June 26th. We're going to go on to read here. It says, it's a problem for the prosecution if the reports are accurate and if the first lab did not match the DNA to Kohberger. An attorney and former federal prosecutor Nima Rami told Newsweek, even though I think that's supposed to be family DNA matches are not new, the state is going to have to explain why the first lab drew a different conclusion. The knife sheath faces new scrutiny as investigators sent the knife for further testing out to an out-of-state company, according to News Nation. I don't know if it means that the lab in Idaho, the state lab, wasn't good enough, reporter Ashley Banfield said on her show. The police said they found the sheath next to Mogan's bed, just inches away from her body and the body of Gonzalez. Trace DNA was found on the sheath button, but forensic specialists haven't connected the DNA to Kohberger. Banfield surmises the Idaho forensic analysis may have created a weakness in the state's criminal complaint against Kohberger. Banfield requested the forensic analysis. You couldn't do the job of finding the DNA on the knife sheath? Banfield and the defense attorney, Mark O'Mara, discussed the potential jeopardy to the defense with the new revelations could cause. Defense attorneys look wherever they can find to find a potential reasonable of doubt, O'Mara warned. When there's a test, either that they have to do a unique or they have to go to out of state, they may have to do a second or third time, or it's inconclusive. Those are little items that the defense attorneys use to see if there's reasonable doubt there. O'Mara said the evidence in the case could still be enough to convict, but says defense attorney must be happy with the new findings. Yeah, it's something they're going to look at, O'Mara concludes. So I just want to read here. The case will decide the fate of Kohberger's life. A potential conviction leaves him eligible for execution if convicted of any of the murders charges. Before arrested, Kohberger's Moscow Police Department found a white Hyundai Elantra at Kohberger's residence. They pinned close to the crime scene on the night of the murders. In the unsealed arrest warrant, police described a list of physical evidence found in Kohberger's family home when he was arrested. Cops say they found 4 medical-style gloves, a black Champion sweatshirt, black face mask, a size 13 Nike shoe, a knife, black gloves, and a black hat during Kohberger's arrest. The trove of evidence built up in the case against Kohberger has faced a fair amount of setbacks since his arrest. And I was talking about that. I feel like we take, one step forward and then we take like 2 steps back. Like, what was it? Didn't Paula Abdul have a song? 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Opposites attract. Was that the song? Opposites attract. I think that's what it was. Opposites attract. I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments. I'm sorry that I haven't been reading the comments tonight. I just have a lot to read, but I appreciate. I see I see you guys are doing great and pumping the chat. Yeah, let's get to 100 likes. We got 103 people watching. That'd be great. Yeah, let's get to 100 likes. I think it's at opposites attract, right? All right, let's keep reading here. The trove of evidence built up the case. Kohberger's faced a fair amount of. The state attorney has revealed potential Brady Giegel materials in the case, allegedly involved victims in the offices. Brady Giegel materials. All right, we already know that. Here's another crazy thing, I think, too. They're going to tear this house down before the jurors can go through and inspect the property. There has to be a judge that steps in that cannot allow this to happen. Is a very crucial piece of evidence in this case. It's crucial for the jury to walk through that house. It's crucial for them to see the crime scene. It's crucial for them to get a feel for the environment, how small, how big, how tall. They have to see that. They're going to see Bryan Kohberger if this goes to trial in court. They have to they have to look at him and see, could he have navigated this space within the alleged 9 minutes of the crime, and see if this person was physically capable to do this. They have to be able to look in that house. It's very frustrating to me that they're going to tear this house down. I'm almost pissed about it. So anyway, that's that article from The Sun. They've been doing amazing work reporting on this case, and I will drop the link in the chat if you guys want to go over and look at that as well. Great. Let me just take a minute here. We'll look in the chat and see what everybody says. Mountain Mama says, yes, they need to go to that house. Absolutely. Oh, no. Sylvia says, now Paula Abdul is involved. Allegedly. Just kidding. Yeah. So Firefly says, I take 2 steps forward. I take 2 steps back. We come together because opposites attract. TNT said they need to stage the house with furniture for sound value. What could be heard? That's a really great. I think that's really good too, because when you pull furniture out of an environment, when furniture and things are hung on the wall, they're absorbing that sound. So if you take things out, you have an empty space, you have reverberation. Your voice is going to carry more and bounce off that wall. You're going to get reverb. You're going to get echo, essentially. Well, that's what it is. Yeah, everybody's agreeing the house has to stay. I completely agree. So Newman 25 says, you get the feeling there was at least another person or persons involved in the case. I know, I can't shake it. I'm starting to get that feeling. I think, like I said, I think they have the right suspect. Is there more people involved? That's what I'm struggling with right now. I don't think it's something like the police are involved and the police went there and they just murdered everybody and they're going to pin it on this, one kid because he's circumstantially be in that area as a student. They plucked him, they pulled him over. We're going to frame this guy. I don't think it's anything like that. But we're going to get to what I think here in a moment. So let me pull up my kind of went over and I quarterbacked this thing in my head about 1,000. I literally sat for like 8 hours today and just read articles and looked at, past streams and reflected on the Drunk Turkey stream the other day that I did with those guys. And I had a fantastic time over there on Daniel's channel with Publicly Buzz. If you guys haven't gone over, please go over and watch that video after I get off live streaming. You're going to want to check that out. It was the Beer and Beards live stream. You can check that out. We were over there, and I'm hoping to get these guys over onto my channel so we can hang out here pretty soon. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. Okay, let's pull up what I kind of went through today. Oh, real quick. Actually, no, we'll wait to do that. Let's see. I need to pull up this. Okay, hang in there for a second. I'm going to pull that up. Okay, so now we have, let me do, just bear with me one second. Okay, so I went through and I just kind of rattled some notes off in my head today. You know, what we know so far. So I kind of did like an evidence against Bryan Kohberger at this point. So we have, you know, one, he's a criminology student at WSU. He's in and around that area. So just kind of quarterback this with me. We have the Reddit post inquiring about how to get away with crimes, and he's asking from former criminals. We have his cell phone tower pings. His cell uses cell resources at King Road starting on 8/21/22 between 10:34 and 11:30 p.m. Okay. Then he gets pulled over on 8/21/22 about a mile from King Road on 11:37 p.m. So he was allegedly down in and around that area. His phone was using, Hut. Yeah, Hut. AZ's got it. Pass interference. So we have that. He's seen in and around the King Road area multiple times before the murders. Okay. On 11/13/22, his cell phone uses cellular resources in and around the area the night of the murders. Okay. 11/13/22, there's video footage of suspect vehicle 1 in and around King Road before and the night of the murders. What I want you guys to keep in mind here before I read on, just keep this in the back of your head. Suspect vehicle 1. Just keep saying that. Suspect vehicle 1. Suspect vehicle 1. Keep that in your head. All right. On 11/13/22, eyewitness accounts, Dylan Mortensen, an eyewitness account of suspect vehicle 1 making multiple passes in front of the house on the night of the murders. So there's other people that saw this car, allegedly Bryan Kohberger's car, making multiple passes in front of the house. That could be the DoorDash driver. That could be other students. Anything. On 11/14/22 at 9:12 to 9:21, Bryan Kohberger's phone uses cellular resources around the area of King Road the morning after the murders. We have the touch DNA on the knife sheath. On 11/18/22, Bryan Kohberger changes vehicle registrations. Now, I find this very strange because you have to look at, and I think this is actually a feather in the cap for the prosecution. You know that the murders happened on the 13th, and why all of a sudden on the 18th, he would change his vehicle registration. Now, I know that it was set to expire on the 30th, but I find it very strange that after the night of these horrific murders, that he's allegedly down in that area, that he would go out almost 5 days later and change his registration. Why? You would change your plate. Your plate would change. So we have the DNA in the trash that matches Bryan Kohberger DNA on the knife sheath. We saw that he was wiping down his car in the middle of the night in Pennsylvania. He was placing trash at 2 a.m. in the neighbor's receptacle with latex gloves on. And then Bryan Kohberger is also accused of having multiple images of one of the alleged female victims on his phone when it was searched by cops. It's not clear if the images found on the device were photos of Kohberger that he had taken himself, or they were downloaded off social media, and if they were taken before or after the quadruple slayings. Okay, so we have all of that. You know, and this is just things that I kind of rattled off my head as I was thinking about this today. So now here's evidence that we're waiting to hear about. Okay, we haven't heard anything about the digital forensic of the cell phone data yet. or anyone's cell phone data in this case. We haven't heard digital forensic of any of the computers that are involved in this case. We haven't heard anything about digital forensics of emails, social media contacts, search history, text messages, everything that would cover that in that category. Excuse me. Forensics of banking transactions. That would be Bryan Kohberger or any of the victims in this case, or anybody that's involved in this case. Forensics of online purchases. Again, Bryan Kohberger or victims. We haven't seen any of that yet. UPS deliveries, and that obviously, coming and going, Kohberger's residence, King Road residence. We know that they subpoenaed information for that as well. The DoorDash info, coming and going from the King Road residence. Who was going there? Who was delivering there? What were they getting? Who was in and out of that house? The biggest one, I think, now that we know that touch DNA could be fucked up, is I think the big sticking point in this case right now, the what do they call that? The Hail Mary in this is the processing of suspect vehicle 1, which allegedly would be Bryan Kohberger's Hyundai Elantra. And then processing the evidence collected at Bryan Kohberger's apartment. That would be dog hair, the red substance on the pillowcase and other objects, the 8 hair strands, the fire stick, the computers, etc. If you guys haven't got a chance yet, and you're just coming into the chat, I know I got 106 people watching. Just go down there and tap that like button for me. I really would appreciate it. And then we're waiting for the evidence collected at his parents' house, the knife, the book with the in page 118 underlined. There was an AT&T bill for Bryan Kohberger, laptops and other computer towers, and etc. So we look at all of that. We have all of the evidence, just things that I rattled off my head. And I'm sure you guys have sat down and kind of done this exercise as well. Let me just get another sip of water here. And then you probably went through this kind of exercise. What are we waiting to hear? We're going to hear most likely all of the rest of this evidence in that first hearing if we get there on June 26th, because that's when the prosecution is going to completely outline its case. It's going to be more in depth than the affidavit. It's going to be more in depth than the search warrants. It's going to be more in depth of any of the legal information that we've seen up to this point. Okay, so moving along. So now I went and I looked at, what would the defense argument? And I went into Chat GPT and I just said, give me a list of things that a defense would use in a case of an argument to argue evidence or argue that their client is not the person of accused in a case. And I highlighted some of the things that may potentially be used in this case. And just hear me out here. So lack of evidence. Like I said, when evidence comes out, it almost feels like we take one step forward, 2 steps back. It's feeling like, we get there and then, it pulls us back. Kind of like there was a commercial, I think it was Geico. They used to have the guy with the fishing pole hanging the dollar. And he's like, oh, get your dollar. You almost got it. You almost got it. It's almost like fishing. You feel like you're going to get that big bass on the line. And then the fish swims away, or the hook slips, or the fishing line breaks. So you have lack of evidence. The defense may argue that there is insufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed the alleged crime. And I said, this is because of a lot of the evidence in this case is circumstantial besides that DNA evidence. And we still haven't seen the processing of the car. And I think the car that could be that rolling crime scene, that is going to be extremely crucial in this case. So I thought maybe, hey, maybe at the last they throw out this insanity or diminished capacity. I find that to be not really high on my list here of what they'll use. Mistaken identity, I think, could be one. The defense may argue that the defendant was mistakenly identified as the perpetrator of this crime. And then you could challenge your eyewitness accounts. DM didn't see him. I'm sure they're going to get into, what was your level of intoxication that night? Were you out partying? Were you using drugs? Were you drinking? That's what they do. And then you got to look at police misconduct. They may use this now that we know there's an internal affairs investigation. When the defense may argue that the police violated the defendant's constitutional rights during the investigation or arrest. And I just put down for my notes, sloppy police work. There's a current internal affairs investigation. So, all right. So now if we look at, all of those things, you look at circumstantial evidence, they're going to look at and they're going to say cell phone pings, suspect vehicle 1, video footage, location BK was in. So I know the other night, Daniel on Drunk Turkey Show, when I was over there, we were asking if there was any, if anybody thought that there was any other suspects in this case. Was there any potential suspects other than Bryan Kohberger? And I find this interesting that they call it suspect vehicle 1. I think they had other people in this. I think there were a few other people they were looking at until they nailed down for sure that they felt that Kohberger was the alleged suspect in this crime. And that's why I think you see the language of suspect vehicle 1. There could have been suspect vehicle 2. There could have been suspect vehicle 3. The touch DNA evidence on the sheath, they could turn around and say, hey, he was in Walmart just days before purchasing some clothes. We know that he purchased clothes from Walmart. He went into the knife system, area. And you guys know, I went over there and I went into their sporting goods and they have knives that look like K-bar knives in there. I'm not sure if they sell a particular K-bar inside there. It is a very specific knife, but they could say something like that if they do have K-bar knives in there. Hey, he was just over there checking out some knives, and that's he's opening the snap, and that's how his DNA got on there. And we do know the Walmart receipts were found during Bryan Kohberger's apartment search. The Reddit posts, they could just turn around and say, hey, it's just a college student researching data for a project. You also have to look at the inconsistencies in 2 different reports by the law enforcement, the officers on the scene where the knife sheath was found. If you look at the 2 reports, they differ slightly, where one says that it was like next to her, and one was said that it was found under her body. So what was it? Was it next to her, or was it under her body, under Maddie's body, or was it laying next to the bed? I think it was even in that too, next to her on the bed. And then you have to see inconsistencies on how touch DNA was found on the knife sheath. Now we know that it's been sent to a Texas lab after being reported that at the Idaho lab that they couldn't match it. And then you also, another thing they have to look at now is the internals and affairs investigation. It's going on with 1 or more of the officers that are involved in this case. So again, you feel like you're taking a step forward, and then you take a couple steps back. So I think right now is the key evidence at this point is this. The big queen mother of it all right now is going to be Bryan Kohberger's car. Anything related to the victim's blood, DNA matches, hair, personal items, etc. If any of that is found in that car, that is going to be the rolling crime scene. And I think it's going to be really hard to explain, especially blood or DNA matches. I think it's going to be really hard to explain from a defense stance, because that's going to basically put him in there. That's going to be hard to explain that away. The digital forensic connections, email, social media contacts, text messages, etc. When we get the forensics of that, if there was any money transfers or payments between either of the parties, I think that's going to be big as well. And obviously, we're waiting for, in his apartment, if there's anything related to the victim's blood, DNA matches, hair, personal items, anything. We're going to look at video or photographic evidence. Anything he made or he may have taken himself could be on his phone or his computers. And then the Bloody King Road shoe print matches any of his shoes. We haven't heard anything about that yet. But I think the biggest one right now that's going to cement this is they processed that car And if there's anything from that car, blood, DNA match, personal items, hair, I think that's going to be the one that sinks it in. So where am I at this case? In this case, I just need to. I have to get something from my throat. Hang on one second, because I'm totally losing my voice. Hang on one second, guys. Sorry. I'll be right back. I'm back. I promise. I'm sorry. That's super unprofessional as me. But this time of year, my allergies start kicking up, and forget it. Sorry about that. All right. So where am I at this case right now? I think my heart of heart says I'm still leaning that Bryan is the only suspect in this case. I'm maybe. I think maybe a couple hours ago I felt that way, but I don't know. I still think there's a lot more going on. So I had to look at and said, some of the theories that have thrown out around there, and there are other theories. And I talked about this on, Drunk Turkey the other night. So I think BK is the only suspect in this case, but actually I worded that wrong. Could there have been a second person, maybe a driver? And the reason that I said that was something that kind of struck me the other day when we were on Drunk Turkey and we're talking about it. I said, I find it weird that he did several passes in front of the house, and then when he went to park, he kind of did these kind of weird, what it was described by witnesses, kind of these weird sections of turns before the car actually parked. And I said this, and everybody kind of went, aha. I said, what's the chances there was a second person in the car with him? Maybe a passenger or a driver. Have you, just think about it. Has there ever been a time in your life when you've been driving with someone, going to somewhere that you might have not gone, or it's dark and it's really late at night and you're driving and you kind of go, shit, take a left, or shit, take a right, or, just park right there, and you're trying to pull in quickly to a spot and you're kind of going back and forth. I've been in that, you kind of stop. What are you talking about? Like turn. That kind of had me thinking there. Was there a second person? I know that a lot of people have brought up Kopacka. He's got a military background. He lived close to Bryan. The K-bar knife sheath was found at the scene. It could be Kopacka. Maybe he was involved as well. Maybe he was the person that went with him. Maybe they planned this together. There's the other theory that BK worked with Kopacka. Obviously, you look at the military background. They live close to Bryan Kohberger. The K-bar sheath was found at the crime scene. Kopacka's body cam footage has still not been released. BK could have had a friendship with Kopacka, or maybe he had a friendship with him and he stole the knife from his apartment to try to make it look like it was Kopacka, and have someone from that military, the military make it look like they committed the crime. I mean, was it drug related? hence the gap in the time to call the police in the morning. You know, were they covering something up at the residence? You know, was Bryan Kohberger in this bigger deal of, you know, dealing drugs out of that house or something? I think that one to me is a little bit more far-fetched. And then I went back and said, I do think they had other suspects zeroed in on Bryan Kohberger, hence the suspect vehicle 1. And actually, I do have the notes here on it. I'm glad that I do. So what I researched about, you know, when they say the use of suspect 1. So it says the use of suspect 1 in a criminal report typically indicates that there are other suspects involved being investigated in connection with a crime. Law enforcement agencies usually assign numbers to or code names to suspects to keep their identities confidential until they are formally charged and arrested. And this is what it makes me think that there were other suspects, or they were looking at other people. In most cases, police will not release information about other suspects or persons of interest during the ongoing investigation, as it could jeopardize the investigation or compromise the safety of individuals involved. Now, remember, we went back and what happened in that article. They said they would not release some records in lieu of public safety. So this is interesting. It also possible that after further investigation, the police may clear suspect 1 of any wrongdoing and identify different individuals as a primary suspect. I'm on a mind trip on this case. I can't nail it down. I can't. Like, my mind is melting. I don't know what to think. I do, like I said, I think that Kohberger is the suspect. I feel they have the right guy. Is there any other people involved? I think we're going to find out. I think there's some more stuff going on. You know, was it like could it have been a murder for hire thing, or, you know, something weird like that? I don't know, but I'm starting to, Daniel threw me way off the other night when I did that stream with them, and it got me thinking, and I didn't want to cloud my judgment, but you start kind of reading and looking at things and you're like, something's not adding up. There's more. Yeah, I do too. I do too. I think there's a lot more. TF's 20 says, this is because you don't have all the information to nail it down, and all these leaks could be misinformation. That's very true as well, too. 100%. You know, this could be just bullshit in the media that they're trying to get out there to just get everybody to click on their articles. That's very, very true. And who knows, maybe this is manipulation by the media to just throw everybody off in this case. Maybe it is as cut and dry as it seems. Maybe it's not as cut and dry as it seems. I'm kind of feeling in the middle right now, where I felt before it was very cut and dry. I'm kind of, you know, I'm stuck in the middle. I don't think I'm ever going to lean that he's not the suspect, because I feel like he is. He's involved in this in somehow, and he is the main suspect. You're looking at them for the first time, though. I don't know if that's conversation with me or I know there's been a lot of conversation about Jack as well. I found this interesting. This was a strange article I found today. So this here, and I'll tell you, I researched today, there's a lot of drugs in that area, fentanyl and heroin and a lot of stuff. University of Idaho student from Boise found dead, 2 arrested. 2 people have been arrested in incident involving a death of a University of Idaho student in Centralia, Washington. The UI announced Thursday that Camden Young, a junior from Boise, had died while away from Moscow. University of Idaho spokesperson Jody Walker told Moscow Pullman Daily News that Young was away from Moscow on spring break when he died. On Tuesday, Centralia Police Department announced that 22-year-old male was found deceased at a Centralia apartment, and 2 people were arrested in connection to his death. Lewis County Coroner Warren McLeod on Friday confirmed the person who died was Young. His official cause of death is still undetermined pending the toxicology report. According to Centralia Police Department news results, officers were dispatched to the apartment after a friend found the victim unconscious and not breathing. He was declared deceased at the apartment. A preliminary investigation revealed information that illegal drugs were used and involved in this case, the news release said. Evidence led police to identify 2 people who were allegedly involved in providing illegal drugs to Young. Police arrested 22-year-old Emma Bailey of Moscow and 36-year-old Demetrius Robinson of Tacoma, Washington, for delivering of a controlled substance. They were booked in Lewis County Jail. Let's see. There's a lot of fentanyl in that area. The poisonous effects of fentanyl are killing individuals and devastating families, the news release said. With the recent amount of deadly fentanyl that have been seized in our area, the Central Police Department had been made it a priority to not only reduce the manufacture, distributing, and transporting illegal drugs and guns within our community, but it also identifies the arrest of subjects who were involved in delivery of illegal deadly drugs like fentanyl. It's interesting. It says Dean of Students Blake Eccles encouraged students affected by Young's death to contact the UI Counseling and Testing Center. He acknowledged that it had been a difficult year for UI community. It's already mourning the deaths of Maddie, Ethan, Xana, and Kaylee, who are murdered on November 13th in an off-campus home. Make sure to take care of yourselves and others. As a community, we collectively mourn Cannon's death and share our deepest condolences with the family and friends who were almost impacted by this passing. So very interesting article. And I was also reading too, I think 2 days ago, there was a gentleman that was pulled over with like 1,400 pills. 1,400 pills of fentanyl. And I'm see if I can try to find that. Man arrested. Hang on a second. This was like 2 days ago. Yeah, this was another weird thing too. 7 indicted in Seattle in connection to coast drug trafficking and conspiracy. I don't know if it says anything here about going through like Pullman or anything like that, but there's a lot of drugs that run through that area. What was the other article that I saw? Let's see. Just bear with me for a second. I'm trying to find a lot of stuff in Seattle. I mean, kind of know that. There was another guy that I had the article up earlier. I can't find it right now, and I apologize. But I saw some guy got pulled over with like a lot of fentanyl. So, let's see. George is saying, Brian, Publicly Buzzed did a feature on Douglas Wilson last week, the pastor at the Christ Church. He has a lot of influence in Moscow. Do you think he could be involved? Some pastor visiting BK. I don't know. I haven't really looked too much into that. I wasn't really branching out on a lot of the outside stuff. I was sticking really to the case. But now, I mean, this is really getting me to dig a little bit deeper. There's something else going on here. And just knowing that like parents of the victims were involved in drug cases as well. I mean, it's just really crazy. I don't think it's like a cartel thing or anything. And the drug stuff just might be coincidence in this, but I'm starting to feel definitely that something else is going on. I don't know. Maybe, maybe allegedly a cartel freaking hired Bryan Kohberger to allegedly do this. I don't know. It's just really weird and it's strange. And it just seems like every corner that we get up and around, something new pops up. Sylvia says, these two are a deep dive that really went a bit crazy while going down the rabbit hole. Love going out to Cannon's loved ones. Absolutely. It's just a very unfortunate situation out there right now. There's a lot of people dying. They still have this huge, they're still mourning the deaths of these 4 victims. It's still fresh in everybody's mind. I mean, this has only been 4 or 5 months out from the actual murders, and then all these other people are just dropping dead, and it's not a really good, just not a good vibe out there right now. What was I gonna do? Oh, I found some. If we want to go off the rabbit hole a little bit here, let's pull this up. So this article is asking, who is Brent? I think I'm saying it right. Kopacka or Kopacka? Am I saying it right? Internet wonders if Bryan Kohberger, new Army vet, gunned down by SWAT team. And then I just want to say this too. This is based on sources that we have not been able to verify this information independently. So this is just kind of clearly a speculative article, but we'll read a little bit of it here. With the arrest of Bryan Kohberger for the murders of the 4 university students, this led the web sleuths generating a number of wild theories regarding the stabbings as well as the suspect. The latest point in the connection among these online sleuths seems to be possible connection between Kohberger and Kopacka, a U.S. Army veteran who was fatally shot by SWAT officers during a standoff near Washington State University. And again, this may be all just coincidence, but there are a lot of coincidences popping up in and around this case lately. It's crazy. Kohberger, who is currently quartered in Latah County Jail, was arrested. I just want to keep going through here and see what we see here. Authorities earlier revealed that Kohberger, his father, pulled over twice. Reflecting on the claims of YouTuber, recently stated that Kohberger was speaking about the same incident in which Brent Kopacka was killed by a SWAT team. According to Fox News, the incident took place on December 14, 2022, when a SWAT team responded to the scene of 1000 block of Southeast Latah Street in Pullman because Kopacka was threatening to kill his roommates. According to the Pullman police, Kopacka, 36, allegedly barricaded himself inside an apartment after police tried to speak with him. As crisis negotiators tend to make contact, he began firing from his apartment, which prompted a member of the Whitman County Regional SWAT team to fire several shots at him. The suspect was found deceased when Whitman County Regional SWAT team cleared the apartment. Pullman Police Chief Jake Opinnorth wrote in a December 15th press release. Later, his family revealed that Kopacka, I think I'm saying it right, Kopacka, was a U.S. Army veteran who served in the military between 2005 and 2009. It was interesting because I did a little bit of research on him, and in 2009, and I'm not sure if it's the right guy, but it might have been, in late 2009, he was pulled over for a DUI in West Virginia, and that case played out in court, and I think he ended up just paying like a fine. If that is him, I think that's the only really bad thing that I found on this guy. His obituary has noted he had a traumatic brain injury sustained by combat in Afghanistan, which led to a 16-year ongoing battle with PTSD. Following the revelations made by Kopacka's family, a YouTuber who works under the identity True Crime Time stated that there were high possibilities that Kohberger and Kopacka knew each other, as their buildings where Kopacka lived was not very far from Kohberger's rented Pullman apartment. The user also claimed that they felt Kopacka was the person who sold the K-bar knife to Kohberger. It could be. So I wanted to pull that up. What was the other thing I found here? Oh, this is interesting too. Since we're on the Kopacka, let's play this video here. Give my voice a little bit of a rest. All right, let's play through this.
And the suspect began firing gunshots from his apartment, but fortunately no one was hurt. Here is some footage from our reporters that were on the scene there. That's the apartment complex in Pullman, again in the 1000 block of Laytos Street near Main Street in that area. There's law enforcement there as well.
Last night behind the man shop, Bishop Boulevard is still closed down. A minute ago, I was at Beasley Coliseum where they're evacuating a number of the residents who were around when the standoff happened. And I went inside for just a short while. I spoke with a number of them. There were more than a dozen residents in there. It was very somber. They were very quiet, but those who I spoke with.
Town of Pullman's basically campus, so we didn't know where it was or what was happening. So it was definitely really scary and makes you panic a little bit.
Those who I spoke with say that many of them heard loud noises last night, loud bangs. They compared it to a pair of plywood boards falling from the second story of an apartment complex. That's how loud it was. They say many of them were woken up by police. And what they were told was that there's a chance that their apartment could be caught on fire, so they had to stay close to the wall. I'm back.
Around. There's also heavy police presence directly behind me, with both officers in their uniforms and some out of uniform as well. We also spoke to some of the businesses here in the area who said they really weren't even notified of the situation. One of the women that I talked to at this coffee shop right here, Zoe's, who actually told me that the only reason she was notified was just because her significant other actually happens to attend the school and they got the WSU notification. But several others of their staff members had no idea what was going on this morning when they came into work. So it's lucky for them that they were actually able to get in and get safely. Now, WSU, since this has all happened, has issued an all clear for students. Students are allowed to now return back to classes, especially on a day like today when many students have finals. That's incredibly important. However, again, this area is still blocked off. There is crime tape around, and this is still an active investigation. We're also told that WSP is going to be the ones taking over this investigation, and until they arrive and are able to clear the scene, this crime scene will remain active.
Spoke to a mother, her son goes to WSU and actually lives in those apartments there, and they were waiting to take.
So the question's being asked, Bryan, would you go for reasonable doubt if you were a juror? No, because I feel like they have the right guy. I'm just unsure if there's other people involved. I think we're going to find out more on June 26th if this goes to a preliminary hearing. I think there's a lot more to go out. I think the SWAT audio is in this presentation. So no, I still feel like he's suspect one.
A bus to be transferred to Beasley Coliseum, because that sounds like where students were being taken to shelter in place. What did you see at Beasley Coliseum when you drove by? Are people still at the Coliseum? Are they still staying there? What's the latest there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tim. Actually, we did go and drive by Beasley Coliseum several times, just kind of made the rounds. It was still dark when we did that, but there was, at that time, nobody was in the Coliseum anymore. As far as we know, that those students have been cleared from the Coliseum.
Do you need any less lethal options, like a 40?
4768.
Go ahead.
We're just trying to confirm that we have everybody out except the armed subject.
Copy.
If you could activate SWAT, we need people to respond for a barricade.
Wow, look at the timeline of the standoff too. It's almost like perfectly in line with the King Road timeline. Holy shnikes, that is bizarre. Look at that timeline. That is bizarre.
47, I'm going to be en route to go get a shield. Did you want us to start working on getting the parking lot so nobody can come in or out?
Yes, but that's a lower priority. Maybe you can have this year. Are you going to work on that?
46, 47, I have his contact number. The RP. Affirm.
Look at the timeline.
Copy. Can you text it to me?
That is bizarre. That is so bizarre.
20s, and then a Brent, unknown last, 35-year-old male.
And which one locally has a gun?
First of Brent is outside the bedroom, possibly with a gun.
Coleman, 468, I see the one male got out of the apartment. Do you have a way to contact anyone so you can get him to move a ways away from the building?
The back parking lot, dark gray jacket, blue pants, red and black striped shirt. He's the one speaking with my partner. He's the one that got out. Go ahead.
I believe it's going to be the top floor at your end. I saw a light coming on and off. If you want to keep an eye on that. You're here until we figure out what we got. Not entirely sure which windows belong to that apartment. I believe they're describing it being between the two stairwells and on the top floor.
Like a 40.
4768.
Go ahead.
We're just trying to confirm that we have everybody out except the armed subject.
Copy.
If you could activate SWAT, we need people to respond for a barricaded male with a gun.
47, I'm going to be en route to go get a shield. Did you want us to start working on getting the parking lot so nobody can come in or out?
Yes, but that's a lower priority. Maybe you can have this Sierra unit work on that.
36, 47, I have his contact number. The RP. Affirm. Copy, can you text it to me?
Let's still evacuate the building, just in case he gets that ID.
Let's see where else.
Good.
Hall 5 says there's a male on the third floor who is yelling from a balcony who will be coming out into the hallway, FYI.
Copy.
Go ahead.
You just recognize this $5 super sticker. Thank you so much, Steve, and I appreciate your super sticker. And let's give him a round of applause. We appreciate that. Helps the channel out. Thank you so much.
Great cash, homie.
Thank you. All right, let's keep playing through this and we'll finish up the stream.
Since he's gonna be in my car, if he has time to run that cappuccino in my cup holder to me, that would be great.
We'll see what I can do. The portable might have stopped working. If I see her, what should I say?
Wrap up and go home.
Look at the timeline. That is so bizarre that it's like almost lined up perfectly.
Wrap up and go home.
Holy smokes. It's like almost lined up perfectly with King Road.
Copy that.
Can you put me back on the...
I got you, homie.
I mean, make sure that the thing that was gone out of that. So, I would like to find the reserve as well. So, we can consider can I have you
It's crazy.
on and release 447 on Main Street at the upper seat? Can you grab another roll of evidence tape and drop it off at the lower seat? Bring something. 39's bringing it.
County Coroner's Office is now identified 36-year-old Brent Kopacka.
Kopacka.
Shot and killed during that standoff last week in Florida.
Just recognize this super sticker from Willow. Thank you so much. A $3.99 super sticker. I appreciate you so much. Let's give her a round of applause.
Great cash, homie.
I got you, homie.
Thank you so much.
Utah apartments and shot his gun during the standoff. They returned fire, killing him. No one else was hurt, but the apartment complex was evacuated. The university did have to go into lockdown temporarily.
And that's it. Whew. So where is everybody's brain at this point? Has their brain melted down yet? Let's check the poll. Let's check the poll. And then we'll finish up here in a couple minutes. So I asked the question, have you changed your stance in this case in the past 7 days? And the chat says 66% no, still undecided at 21%, and 12% said yes. The poll had 128 votes, so I appreciate that interaction. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Let's see. Canadian Cat Lady says there has to be someone who was the runner back and forth delivering and picking up. That's a lot of driving around. I don't know. I'm lost. My brain's in meltdown mode. And I didn't think that I was going to go into this area of all these, I don't want to say like conspiracies, but looking at other things. I think I felt when I first went into this and started hearing the evidence and reading through it, it was very cut and dry to me. But now there's other things that are popping up that have concern. Again, I still feel like BK is the right suspect. I think that he allegedly did these crimes, but I think there's a lot more to this that we haven't heard yet and that we're going to find out. And I think it's going to be like, whoa, when it comes out, if it comes out, if we get there. So that is the $1 million question right now. That is the $1 million question right now. So I don't know. My brain's melted. My brain's definitely melted. Guys, by the way, if you don't know, look what we did already. We've hit past 3,000. We've hit the 3,000 subscriber mark. I am so happy about that. I'm so happy about that. With all of your help. With all of your help, we have done it. And now, hopefully by June, I want to be at 5,000 subscribers by June 26th. So when Bryan Kohberger walks into court for the first time in his not first time, but for his preliminary hearing, I want to be there for 5,000. And then by the end of the year, I want to be at 10,000 subscribers. All right. So let's just recognize this sticker from Firefly. I appreciate it. Let's give her a round of applause.
I got you, homie.
Thank you so much for the super sticker, Willow. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay. So that's where we're at. My brain is melted. I'm going to digest this over the next couple of days. If this is the first time here in the chat here in watching my channel live, I do my live streams every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do other shows besides Kohberger stuff. On Tuesdays, we do Serial Killer Tuesdays, where we look back at previous infamous serial killers. And then on Thursdays, we do kind of like a throwback Thursday, where we look at some just bizarre cases that happened in the past. I'm mostly going to be doing like interrogation videos during that. It's a little bit more lighthearted, where we just kind of all watch interrogation and speak freely in the chat. So join us for those sessions as well. And of course, if anything changes in the Kohberger case, of course, I would just do a night, around that material as well. Let me do this. Yeah, I need 9 more likes for 100. I'd love to get that before I close the stream out. So if you haven't smashed that like button down below, please go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to drop the link for the next live. That'll be on Tuesday this week, 8:30 p.m. You guys can go in there and just click the remind me button. We're going to do John Wayne Gacy on Tuesday if nothing comes up in the next couple of days about Kohberger. If it does, the format will change and we'll do some more Kohberger stuff. But we're looking forward to doing John Wayne Gacy. I got 4 more likes before I get out of here. If you guys can do that, I'm going to close up shop here, get some rest, and then I'll be back here on Tuesday. Let's take a look. Let's refresh the screen. 100's such a great number when we get to a hundo. When we get to a hundo, that's good. 97. We're at 97. We only need 3 more. Like Steven. Yeah, Steven. That was a fun stream. That Saturday night stream was fun. That was a very impromptu. Pop that one up there. Oh, by the way, if anybody's thinking, wondering about, I forgot to share this. So Kopacka, if you're looking to try to get the unsealed records, exemption denied, exemption denied, exemption denied, exemption denied, exemption denied. I think because of his military background, that's probably why you're not seeing it. It could be, it might not be, but that's my speculation under it. Or there's other relevant information in this case that they don't want to come out pre-trial. Maybe he did have a connection to Kohberger. I don't know, but we're sure as hell going to find out here pretty soon. It's just, it's strange and it's weird. We are at 100 likes. I appreciate all of you this evening in the chat. I hope you had fun during the show tonight. We had a lot of new viewers in the house, which is great. I'd love to see you all come back again and hang out with us. For my mods, for all of my peeps, my regulars in here. I love all you guys. We're expanding the channel. It's growing. The audiences are growing. The channel is getting bigger, and we're having success. So that's what we need to do here. You know, we stay positive. We look at these and just kind of throw a lot of stuff around and chat it up. Rose has given me a $5 super sticker. I appreciate you so much.
Straight cash, homie.
She gave me the straight cash, homie.
I got you, homie.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, I'm going to head out for the evening. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of their evening. Come back on Tuesday. It's going to be fun. We're going to do John Wayne Gacy. I'll probably pull up a lot of the interview footage with him, as we always like to look at the weird and macabre. So I think that'll be a fun show. And like I said, if anything changes in between now and Tuesday night with more Kohberger bombshells, we'll definitely do the show around that as well. If you haven't already, go over and check out the segment I did with Drunk Turkey and Publicly Buzz. That's over on the Drunk Turkey channel. I'm actually talking to Daniel. I'm probably going to, if I can get permission from him, cut that segment down a little bit and re-upload it on my channel as well, so you guys can see it here as well. But I will be back on Tuesday. Again, I'm the Opinionated Idiot. I love all of you guys and ladies. Oops, I just make sure, because I have a large woman audience or lady audience. Sorry, it's late and my brain is burnt, but I will see you all back here on Tuesday. Hopefully you can join the stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that's it. I think that's all I have to say. Any parting words in the chat room? I know everybody's saying good night. Christine, I will get your mug out probably Wednesday or Thursday when I get over to the post office. Get your cat spayed and neutered. Yeah, that was what the hell was that? Bob Barker, right? I'll be honest with you. I'm getting some information about trust and safety in that area. I have some people that I do talk to out in that area. It's a little wild out there. It's getting a little quiet in Moscow. Not many people are talking. I've also had some conversations with people that have been close to Kohberger in the past. So I get a lot of, it's interesting. I get a lot of interesting emails. I've vetted most of the people that we've had conversations about. It seems like a lot of their stories check out. I'm just being very respectful in the sense that I don't want to dox them or give any information that would make, which would be identifiable that you would be able to figure out. But I do talk to people that might have known certain people in the past, or give me kind of a temperature and a gauge of what's going on in a specific area at the time. So it's interesting, some of the emails that I get, and all the emails that I get from my regulars. I love all that. Thank you so much. I try to follow up as much as I can, but sometimes it's a lot because I'm balancing a channel and my day job as well, day and night job. So great. I think I'm going to head out, guys. I will see you back on Tuesday. And come hang out on Tuesday. I think Gacy's going to be a great show. We're at the 2-hour mark. I'm going to close this one out. Thank you all. I love all you guys. You guys are making the channel grow, and I do appreciate it. It's a fun. It's been fun for me so far. I hope it's been fun for you. We'll see you back on Tuesday. Bye, guys.